Hello everyone and welcome back to this video by the Magnet Baron. Today we're going to be magnetizing a Nemesis Dreadknight for Warhammer 40,000. Before we begin, I was able to build up the legs, but didn't glue in the knee pads, pieces A55, A48, B6, and B7, or his Codpiece A2 and B5. I'm also leaving his banner, piece B8, off to the side for now. I'm going to magnetize these later. I started with the body connection. The Dreadknight's torso attaches to the lower chassis with a wide peg, which is an ideal spot to insert a 6mm by 1mm magnet. I cut off the peg at the bottom of A9, which fit a 4mm by 2mm magnet into it. This will help me disassemble the model for storage and transport without damage. On the inside of the main body, I glued a strong 6mm by 1mm magnet, and with piece B1, the large book that sits on top of the Dreadknight from the Grandmaster sprue, I drilled a 2mm by 1mm hole into the bottom. This allows me to swap it out easily without leaving any visible magnet. To reinforce the magnet inside the torso, I wrapped it in green stuff so it stays secure. Moving on to the legs, I'm gluing a 2mm by 1mm magnet onto each leg, and each knee pad also has one 2mm by 1mm magnet for a total of 6 2mm by 1mm magnets. For his codpiece, I'll shave off the peg that sticks out the front, as piece A17 is thick enough for a 2mm by 1mm magnet to be drilled into it. Making sure my drill is as center as possible, I put it in there. Now with both codpieces, I'll drill just enough into the square hole to make a 2mm by 5mm magnet fit for a flush fit. After checking that each codpiece will be able to be swapped out, I'll snip out piece B8, the banner, and glue two 2mm by 0.5mm onto the top of the chains. In the inside of the torso, I'll glue two 2mm by 2mm magnets into place, right behind our Grey Knight. This will make it easier for us to swap out the banner without the need for drilling. After assembling both copies of the weapon body using A95 and A1 together, I moved on to magnetizing all 4 of the weapon options. On the front of the main gun body, I drilled a 2mm by 2mm magnet to attach all the weapon barrels. On the weapon body, I drilled two 2mm by 1mm magnets into the back on both sides, so the weapon ammo containers can be swapped out. To help me find where I place my magnet for proper alignment, I dabbed red paint onto the magnet and pressed all the weapon parts onto it, marking where I needed to drill. In order of the instructions, the Subliminar's barrel is built normally. I drilled and glued a 2mm by 1mm magnet into the barrel. I drilled out a 2mm hole where my paint marked the gas tank to fit a 2mm by 0.5mm magnet. For the gas tank and pipes that connect to it, but I shortened the connection point on the end of the pipes so I could take it out and put it back into the hole for a pressure fit. On the Gatling silencer, I repeated the same steps, using a 2mm magnet to connect the gun barrel to the main body. The ammo container can be pressure fitted and doesn't require a magnet. All I did was cut down the connection so I could put less stress on the pressure fitting. Moving on to the heavy incinerator, I built the gun barrel as normal, drilling a 2mm by 2mm magnet into the barrel. One additional step I had to take was drilling a 2mm hole into both of the gas tanks, fitting a 2mm by 0.5mm magnet so they will magnetize on both sides of the weapon body. Lastly, the heavy side cannon will have the barrel built as normal, and I pushed a 4mm by 2mm magnet into the barrel. I drilled a 2mm by 0.5mm magnet into the big battery on the back. For the cord that connects to the big battery on the back, I drilled a 2mm by 0.5mm magnet into the side, as this will help hide the magnet. To connect it, I drilled and glued a 2mm by 1mm magnet into the battery container. Now that all weapon parts are magnetized, we can move on to the arms. For the left arm, other than the main weapon body, there is not a lot to magnetize here. For the left fist, as there is no weapon options for it, I glued it as normal. For all the other weapon options, the main body can be removed and reattached using pressure alone. The arm can be built as per the instructions regardless. However, this Grey Knight is right-handed. There are 2 copies of piece A76. With my first copy of piece A76, I drilled a 2mm by 1mm magnet into the hole that is already there. I moved on to the mace. Since I had 2 copies of A76, I could glue this onto the mace hand. On the staff itself, I drilled a 2mm by 2mm magnet into it. For the mace weapon options, I sanded both of the bottom of the maces, where they would go into the rod, and drilled a 2mm by 1mm magnet into the bottom. Finally, I drilled the bottom on the hand holding the mace and placed a 3mm by 2mm magnet for extra strength. For our last copy of piece A76, I drilled a hole with a 2mm bit and inserted a 2mm by 1mm magnet inside of it. On the sword hand, thunder hand, and regular hand, I cut off the peg and drilled a 2mm hole, placing a 2mm by 1mm magnet into the hole. Now all the hand options can be swapped out. Like I did with the mace hand, I drilled a 3mm hole on the bottom of each hand and placed a 3mm by 2mm magnet inside of each. Inside the arm, I inserted a 6mm by 1mm magnet into the slit and packed it with green stuff, so it won't move after I seal the arm. Now to finish off the arms, I went on to magnetize the hydraulic pumps to help raise the arms up and down, pieces A21 and A22. A 3mm by 2mm magnet fitted perfectly into this hole. The connecting pieces, A32 and A33, I cut off the peg and drilled so that a 2mm by 1mm magnet can be fitted. These parts can swivel up and down and come apart when I want to change out the gun options on the arms. The last thing was to glue the arms in place and make sure my hydraulic pistons will make it into the hole on each arm. After I put on this little shield, we're almost done. I'll simply drill a 2mm hole into the top of the body and insert a 2mm by 0.5mm magnet into it. With the heads, I'll insert the same magnet into the bottom of each. And voila, we now have swappable heads. At this step, we are almost done. All we need to do is magnetize a harness to be able to switch it from the regular Dreadknight configuration to the Grandmaster configuration. To do this, I'll drill a small 2mm hole into the chest of the Grey Knight and fit a 2mm by 1mm magnet into it. To match this, I'll glue a 2mm by 1mm magnet onto the harness so that they will be flushed together and be able to be swapped. I finished a harness that would fit the Grandmaster with his iron halo. And with that, I think it's done.